Hello, my name is Marius Frank. I am Head of Education at Microlink UK Limited. I'd like to talk to you about a diverse range of threads that I'm going to try and pull together, covering what we consider to be disability, rethinking, if you like, a paradigm for disability, so that all learners, all young people who are disabled by circumstance can benefit from a change in culture, a change in approach to unlock learning by removing systemic barriers. So, what I'd like to cover in this short talk is a new way of thinking to look at removing systemic barriers to progress and achievement, and including the use of technology in this argument. I'd like to start off with something that we have just completed in schools. This is Joanna. She's a year 9 student with Down syndrome, other medical conditions. She has a detailed EHCP, but here she is enjoying the independent use of Immersive Reader for the very first time. And I hope you can see a smile behind the mask. Technology has improved immensely in the last 5 years and has brought a range of tools that are now freely available to the mass market. So let's see how we can challenge some forms, if you like, of thinking. Out there, we still have very much a fixed ability mindset amongst teaching professionals, and sometimes I would think also HEI professionals. Now, look, we've challenged unconscious bias when it comes to race, but how about also challenging unconscious bias when it comes to ability? A fixed ability mindset is a shrug of the shoulders and an acceptance, perhaps, that all young people's performance followed some sort of Darwinian distribution of intelligence. But let's dig a little deeper, please. Now, we're making great progress in education by using tools such as education, health and care plans and SEN support in schools to challenge this notion and present a situation where no limits can be placed on ability or achievement. If you look at the work that Ruben Barstein led, um, it shows the possibilities that can be unlocked if you adopt a growth mindset and a specific approach to overcome particular barriers to learning. But how about those types of additional needs which fall on a spectrum? We all know that many of these cognitive and communication issues fall on a spectrum, that they often occur in combination. That's called comorbidity. Um, and sometimes some of the brightest young people in your communities are afflicted by barriers to learning. And this is where a spiky profile and understanding what a spiky profile means is so important. It's quite amazing, isn't it, that we estimate that 70% of children with dyslexia go unnoticed in school and perhaps go unnoticed into HEI as well. Sometimes the young people don't even realize they have a barrier to learning and communication. Why? Because they have a spiky profile. A spiky profile means strengths in certain areas of cognition and weaknesses in others. The classic example I will give is a young lady who was in year 13. That's, 12 weeks before her A levels, 12 weeks before her A levels, and had been diagnosed as dyslexic. She was on grade 8, I believe, grade 8 standard on 3 musical instruments, but was refused entry to conservatoires because they didn't think she could learn quickly enough. That was because of her dyslexia, not because of her innate ability. We need to start challenging people, and thinking about ways of removing these systemic barriers. And what about poverty, adverse childhood experience, children affected by migration? Um, it is absolutely unbelievable the impact poverty can have on delaying language development and delaying cognitive development. Why? Well, I think it's actually quite obvious. If you look at the social and emotional assets parents might have and how they are diverted to survival rather than interacting with their child, we cannot underestimate it. And what's the evidence we have for this? I think the most compelling bit of evidence is this graph. This shows GCSE output of the whole national cohort, this line from 2008 to 2016. As you can see, it's going up. But if you disaggregate it and just look at the young people who've been in poverty the entirety of their school career, they have actually regressed relative to their less disadvantaged peers. The pandemic has only served to widen this gap. So, look, we need to think of new paradigms for disadvantaged learners. We need to be able to think about a shift in thinking, a shift in approaches that will lead to a new unlocking, if you like, of attainment and achievement. The medical model of disability places the problem with the disabled person. They are confined to a wheelchair. They can't walk. They can't see or hear. How about changing that narrative to the social model of disability, where the problem is the disabling world? Maybe the stairs and ramps are not right. Maybe we can design the buildings to overcome the disability. Maybe we can make all transport accessible, and open up job prospects by making the world more accessible. This is what we mean by the social model of disability. And what we're advocating is that we broaden the social model of disability to include those young people who are disabled by the circumstances of poverty, of multiple adverse childhood experiences, opening up the world to them. Now, I love this graph because I think it sums up the feelings absolutely appropriately. Okay, you can give every child an iPad in school. Wonderful. That's equality. But how about giving every child with identified special educational needs access to assistive technologies on their iPad? Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? But there's another thing. Let's take the wall down. Let's rip the wall down. Let's look at creating an environment, a culture, and classroom practice that imparts the use of assistive technologies and mainstream lessons to the point that every child disabled by any circumstance can access the quality teaching. What do we mean by that? Well, how about, for example, normalizing or usualizing the use of assistive technology so that it is as prominent and as accepted as using a pen or paper? So we can do this in schools, and we can do this in higher education. We can do this. And one of the tools that is now available, I will very quickly explain. Immersive Reader, very, very, very powerful tool which enables access to reading and understanding. And it's built into computers. In the old days, it was part of Word, and of course that's wonderful. Word had some features in it. You could change the color of the background. You could go to line contrast. It was okay. But now we have the power of the cloud through Office 365 to enable a much more thorough and quite astonishing range of capabilities. For example, the cloud version of Immersive Reader can read at different speeds in different voices and can translate instantly into 90 different languages. It is truly astonishing. And because it is now available as an app, it can sit in other people's applications. The example I give here is Helperbird. Now, Helperbird is a Chrome or Edge app. It will sit in your browser. The free version gives you access to Immersive Reader, whether you have Office 365 or not. It works on laptops. It works on Chromebooks. They've even now extended it to work on iPads and iPhones. If something like this is gifted to the entire student population, then those learners with identified needs and those with hidden needs will all benefit from the usualization of assistive technologies. Thanks for listening. I hope that was useful. If you would like to know more, please do not hesitate to contact me at Microlink. My email address there is marius.frank@microlinkpc.com. Thank you.